So look who I found at a grocery store. I found a fan of high quality entertainment. Now, what's your name again?
Jesse?
Jesse. So thank you. He came running up to me saying, "I want your autograph. I want your autograph."
Well, you're a local celebrity.
I'm a local hero. And finally somebody noticed me. Okay. It was nice to meet you. Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you.
Yeah. Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. I am here with Beakley Tones Beatles channel. Is that how you say it?
Beakley Tones Beatles channel, yeah.
Beatley Tones Beatles channel.
Yeah.
And your name is Tony.
It is, yeah.
You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know. I didn't.
So, first thing I want to ask you is, does this compare to meeting Paul McCartney? Meeting me?
Well, it's close. It's close. It's close. I
No
mean,
autograph.
you are almost as famous.
Yeah. So just today I watched on his channel him meeting Paul McCartney more than once, and so please check out his channel. It's got a lot of great Beatles content on it. I've only started to, I just became aware of your channel. I think on Twitter you were talking about Paul Weller, and somebody connected you to me because I've become a fan of Paul Weller recently.
Yeah, well, no, I saw your tweet about you wanted to speak to someone who had been a Paul Weller fan for a while.
Yeah,
and I said, well, I have.
I've only been a fan for like not even a month.
Not even a month. All right, you got a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, what I've got now, I bought 5 CDs. I've got Stanley Road,
which
I love. On Sunset, which I really like a lot. It's more mellow though.
Yeah.
This one I haven't played all the way through yet, but I love his vocals. An orchestrated songbook, very nice album.
Yeah,
Fat Pop, which I love.
Yeah, Fat Pop's great.
And I think my favorite of the ones I have so far is Wake Up the Nation.
Oh, okay. That's it's so funny because his career is so diverse that probably everyone's got a different favorite. Now, I would say sort of Wake Up the Nation has got good songs on it, but it's got quite a lot of filler, I think. So it's not it would be somewhere middling. If I was ranking his albums, it would be somewhere in the middle, I guess.
Yeah. But, I'd always known of him, and of course in the Jam, and I'd known, 2 or 3 songs by the Jam, and then I sort of knew of the Style Council. But his solo career, I never really bothered with, right?
Yeah.
And one day on Spotify, and what I've said to people about Spotify, like a lot of musicians will put it down, because I understand they're not making much money through Spotify. But the good thing about Spotify is I was checking out his music one day, and it's like, oh my God, I love this. I go to another album. Oh my God, I love this. And I'm buying his CDs.
Yeah. Well, that I think that's kind of how we all started with streaming, because I go back to when you had like illegal downloads from Napster and places like that, and everyone was downloading that stuff. But I was kind of downloading it to hear stuff that I hadn't heard. I mean, I discovered the Fountains of Wayne through Napster. Just heard a couple of songs, and in the end, I'm buying all their albums, and they're just one of my favorite bands of all time. And through that, and I guess it's
I should check them out. I've never heard their music. I've heard of them.
They're fantastic. They're very Beatley. But they're an American band, and they're not very big in the UK. Well, they've split up now. In fact, the bass player died during COVID, but they were never very big in the UK. When they used to come over and play, they used to do like about 3 gigs. They'd do a gig in London, a gig in Birmingham, a gig in Glasgow, and that was about it. And then they were off again. But I've seen them about 3 times, and they're a fantastic live band, and they're very, very catchy, sort of power pop type band. I think.
Is it sort of like Cheap Trick kind of?
Yeah. That's quite a good shout, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't heard everything Cheap Trick have done, but what I have heard, yeah, I would say it is a little bit uh, along those lines. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got great harmonies and stuff, and it's all sort of guitar based pop, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. And just one more thing about Paul Weller. So I have those 5 CDs, and the 5 I have coming in are 22 Dreams,
Right?
As Is Now,
Yeah,
Wildwood, which I heard is one of his best,
yeah.
Elimination, and,
Illumination. Yeah,
yeah, and Saturn Pattern.
Saturn's pattern. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Wildwood, I would say, is the best of that bunch. I
Yep.
think that is my favorite of his solo albums.
Mhm.
22 Dreams is a double album.
It's kind of experimental and
Yeah, it's got some experimental stuff on it, but it's got a lot of great tunes on it. It's a little bit folky. Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit folky, a little bit poppy, but it's a good album.
yeah.
Illumination I would say Illumination is kind of very soulful, and I think he was sort of at that sort of time. He was kind of at a point in his career where he wasn't that inspired. There's nothing really new on that album, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that the songs aren't good on it, because
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
there are a lot of good songs on Illumination.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, oh, yeah. The other question about him is, have you ever seen him live?
Yeah, I've seen him live about 20 times.
20
Yeah, I think I've probably seen him live more than I've seen Paul McCartney. I've
Wow.
seen McCartney 22 times, I think. Yeah,
Wow.
22 too. I think I've seen because I saw Weller in the Jam. So
Yeah.
I discovered him through the Jam in
Yeah.
1977, and I've kind of stuck with him
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah.
Even when he makes rubbish albums,
Yeah.
I've still sort of stuck with him. It's been a real
So what would be? I don't want to just have this about Paul Weller. I'm just interested.
sure,
What
sure.
would be his worst album for you, or one of his worst?
What would be his worst? I really don't like Heliocentric,
Okay. Yeah.
which
That's
is
from 2000, I believe. Yeah.
yeah, 2000. Yeah, I'm not keen on that. There's a lot of filler on that, and
Just
not
maybe
very,
going through the motions or something. Or
yeah, not very, very memorable tunes on that one. I don't think, and so Illumination followed that, and that was a kind of a return to form for me. But
yeah.
you'll speak to some Paul Weller fans, and they'll think Heliocentric is
Yeah, of
fantastic.
course. Yeah.
But for me, it's not that great. And after he made Illumination, he kind of took a break and did a covers album,
Yeah.
which I think was hit. Because I think he'd kind of run out of ideas a little bit and
Yeah. Yeah.
needed to do that.
Yeah.
And he made a great covers album, Studio 150,
Yeah.
which is great. But yeah, I think there's been, I think all the Jam albums are great, particularly from All Mod Cons. That
Mhm.
I think that's his greatest album. With the Jam, All Mod Cons, just fantastic
Yeah.
album.
And
And the
did you like the Style Council?
I did, yeah, I did. So a lot of people, a lot of Jam fans just abandoned him when he went into
Yeah.
Style
Yeah.
Council. Very, very different, because
Yeah.
a lot of people that were into the Jam were either into them because they were originally punks. Because although the Jam weren't really a punk band, they were
Yeah.
kind of emerged, during the punk scene, and they were. But they were always really a mod band. So people were either punks or they were mods that were into the Jam.
Yeah.
And when he quit that, when he broke up the Jam in 1982, formed the Style Council, a lot of the Jam fans just abandoned him.
Yeah.
I can remember there used to be a Jam fan page on Facebook, and he used to go on that, and people were, were really, really abusive
Yeah.
about the Style Council. Yeah, I don't want to hear anything. Absolutely love the Jam, but I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear any Style Council, and I don't want to hear any Paul Weller solo. But and I would argue, but Paul Weller is
Yeah.
the only songwriter in the Jam. Is the lead
Yeah.
guitarist and the singer in the Jam. How can you not be interested in what
You
he did
might
next?
make a
Yeah,
song you like.
yeah, yeah.
But
How can
but
you not be
yeah,
interested in what he did next?
yeah.
And
But you get that with any artist like Paul McCartney, right? You'll read, so I'm Paul McCartney's biggest fan, and then it goes on like all negative and the
yeah,
album sucks, and you're
yeah.
not you're not Paul McCartney's biggest fan.
No, no.
Uh,
You're
so
just a fan of the stuff you like.
yeah. So enough about Paul Weller for now. Let's talk
Okay.
about me. No, let's talk about your channel. Obviously, I
Okay.
guess it's kind of Beatles based, but let
Yeah.
us know about your channel.
Okay. So, well, I'm fairly new as a YouTuber. I started my channel in August 2021, and after watching a few of you guys doing, I started looking at. I've been using YouTube for a long time, but I used it to watch like music documentaries
Yep.
or
Yep.
stuff I'd missed on the TV or whatever. I had no idea there were guys out there talking about pop
Yeah.
music, and that was a big discovery for me. So I hadn't even been watching sort of YouTubers that long
Yeah.
talking about music, and I thought, wow, this looks easy, and then I found it's really not.
Never-
And so I started my channel, and it's kind of grown. I'm just a little about 30 or 40 subscribers short of 2,000, and
Yeah.
I think that's quite good for the amount of
Yeah.
time that I've been doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it took quite a long time to get to 1,000. Took
Yeah.
about just under a year, and now it's taken less than 6 months to
But
almost get to
yeah,
2,000.
I've been on YouTube. It'll be 17 years this year
Yeah,
coming up. And the only advice I could give somebody like you starting up is
mm,
don't worry too much about subscribers and like
mm,
getting to 2,000, 3,000.
okay,
Just enjoy what you're doing.
yeah,
The main thing is you're getting feedback, right? You're getting
yeah,
comments.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what means the most to me, is getting, you
yeah,
don't want to do a video and there's nobody responding to
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've obviously virtually met lots of really great people on my
Yeah.
channel, people that that comment on every video,
Yeah.
and I've had really great support.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. At the moment I'm only doing Beatles or solo Beatle
Yeah.
content. So I do the usual sort of stuff, rankings and talking about reviews of albums. Been doing
And
some,
you did a review of this fine book.
yeah. I did
Yeah.
a review of that. I haven't finished it yet, but I did a
I
review.
haven't either. The way I read is I can't read from start to finish. I don't know what my issue is, but I end up reading the whole book. But I'll just go to a certain page and read a section of it, and I'll be all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
But it is excellent.
It
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
So and I do unboxings and
Yep.
it's basically news, views, reviews, that sort of stuff. I've done quite a few videos like the Meeting Paul McCartney one, I suppose you call them like story videos, where you're telling a story about being a Beatles fan, and
Yeah.
something's happened,
Yeah.
Beatlish.
So I'll link, when this video is posted, I'll link the Meeting Paul McCartney videos, because
Oh, okay.
I had a good chuckle over it, and it was nice too, of course. And you obviously nervous meeting him, and
Yeah.
most people would, but you weren't crying like the woman in front of you.
No, no, no. I mean, that was just. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I think because of her age, I think she was probably like a first
Yeah.
generation
Yeah.
Beatles fan.
Yeah.
And they always used to cry, and didn't they, when they saw the Beatles? And she
Yeah.
did. She just burst
Yeah.
out crying
Yeah.
just in front of it, right in front of him before she even said hello.
But he's seen that a few times before.
Oh God,
Yeah.
he's totally used to that, and
Yeah.
like
And, you know, I don't know, like he's one of the most famous people in the
yeah,
world, right? But
yeah,
I
yeah,
think he's handled his success. I mean, all four Beatles have. They've handled their success pretty well. You can tell that, you know, if you did meet him on the street, he'd talk to you like a normal person.
he
Like,
did, yeah. Well, I did,
just treat him like he's just another person, right? Even though he was in the
yeah,
Beatles.
and because because he has been famous for so long, he knows exactly
Yeah.
how to handle being met by fans. And all I can say is, on the 3 times that I've met him, he does what he does. He does his utmost to make you feel as comfortable as you can
Yeah.
feel in the presence of greatness.
Yeah.
And I kind of,
And it's not phony either from what I've
it's not.
seen.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not.
Yeah.
I think I said, the second time that I met him, I did say, so, I said, oh, thank you so much for doing this. I know you don't have to. And he said, I love it.
Yeah.
I like coming out and saying hi to people. It's fun
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And,
Yeah,
and what,
he's a social person. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, no, the first 2 meetings that I had with him were, he was doing signings in record shops, so it was a kind of an organized thing, and I was
Yeah.
lucky to, get in to get my stuff signed, and get 90 seconds with Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
or whatever. But the third time that I met him was just a complete fluke.
Wow.
We were on holiday in France, and we went by train. Normally we would take a plane, but we went by train this particular time. So, and we were on the way home, and we were at the Paris Eurostar station, Gare du Nord, I think it's called. And I'm standing against the wall, and I'm on my phone, and I don't know what I'm looking at, Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is. And I looked up, and literally right in front of me were Paul and Stella McCartney. I just like couldn't believe my eyes,
Yeah.
just standing there. And I obviously I had to go and say hello, and he assumed I was French. He said bonjour, monsieur. He assumed I was French, and I said no, it's okay, I'm English. And he said, oh, all right, mate.
Yeah.
God, he's just said, all right, mate.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, even in those sort of random sort of circumstances,
Yeah.
he just does his best to make you feel comfortable, I think.
Yeah. And then, there's like Ringo with, like that video he made, no autographs. But
Yeah,
you can't blame, like I wouldn't want to be Ringo Starr or Paul McCartney and put up with, can I have your autograph every day? Like
yeah,
I would be saying no more autographs. I'm done.
yeah. No, I don't blame him. I don't blame
Yeah.
him. For 50 years,
Yeah.
60
Like
years,
you're eating
60
dinner
years.
and somebody's coming
Yeah,
up and interrupting you and
yeah,
excuse me, I'd like to eat.
yeah, yeah. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So take me back to the first time, like what was the first time that you realized you loved music, or was it the Beatles or something else? Or
Okay, so the first time that well, actually, I had this thing when I was very, very young, when I was about 2 or 3. I had a record player, and people, my parents or friends of my parents used to buy me records, because I used to have this thing where where I used to be able to tell which record was which before I could even read. So my mum, she thought this was the most fantastic trick ever, and that she would always test me. But that was a kind of a forced thing. When I
yeah,
first discovered it for myself, was kind of around 1973, sort of glam rock, and like I listen to the radio and like bands like Slade and T-Rex and things that were current at the time. But the first actual album that I bought for myself was Kimono My House by Sparks in 1974.
Do you see what's behind me?
I do. That was the first album, and so Sparks were really the first band that I was like really into, like that I would say, right, I am a fan.
Back then, did you consider them glam, even though they weren't?
No, I think I considered them rock, really.
Yeah, rock.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were American?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
you
did.
did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did know they were American, and but a lot of people at school, as I can remember very, very clearly when they did Top of the Pops, which is the main music program in the UK. Like, everyone watched Top of the Pops on a Thursday night, and when they were on it for the first time doing This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us, the next day everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. It was in that documentary last year, the Sparks Brothers. So that was true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I haven't actually seen that documentary yet, but it's on my list. I keep meaning to watch it. And my dad was just absolutely infuriated by them. He would say things like, "He looks like bleeding." He would say he looks like bleeding Hitler. Yeah. My dad would say, and he'd say, "You can't understand a word they're saying," and all that. And but he used to say that about all pop music.
Yeah.
And in the case of This Town It Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us, he was actually right.
Yeah.
You couldn't really understand the lyrics.
When I first bought that album, it didn't have the lyric, like it had the lyric sheet, but the album I had didn't. So, like 95% of the album, I didn't know what the heck they were singing.
Oh, right. I had the lyrics with mine.
Yeah.
And then I kind of went on to Propaganda and Indiscreet, and then I kind of fell away from Sparks. I think Queen were the next thing, and I liked them for a couple of years, and then I discovered the Beatles in 1976. And then,
so you didn't see the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show like I did?
No, I mean, no, I didn't. Obviously, I was too young. I was born in 61, so I am 61 at the moment.
Yeah. So what was the first song of the Beatles that hooked you?
Right. So how I discovered them was that I used to knock for this friend of mine on the walk into school, and we would be walking to school, and he'd just like throw little teasers out. He'd be walking along, and he'd go, "Here comes the sun," and then he'd stop, and he was like that because by stopping he was encouraging me to say, "What is that you're singing?" sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Sure is catchy.
Yeah. And anyway, so he told me about the Red and the Blue album that I think his dad had just bought the Red and Blue album, and he'd been playing them. And he said, "You've got to hear it. It's just unbelievable." And he lent me both those albums, and I took them home, played the Blue album first. So the first song that just absolutely blew me away was Strawberry Fields Forever, which is the first track on side one of that album. And I played it in my bedroom, and I didn't even let it go onto Penny Lane. I just went back and listened to Strawberry Fields about 5 times before I let it carry on and heard the rest of the album. And, it was just like, just fantastic song after fantastic song after fantastic song. And I was kind of hooked. And I then sort of, once I'd sort of played those albums to death, I kind of realized that, just having those 2 albums was not going to be enough, and I needed more Beatles music in my life. So I started buying up the albums, and that summer of 76 was like the really hot summer that we have terrible weather here in England, and the summer of 76 we had a heat wave. And I don't think we had rain from April till September. There was no rain, and everyone was, everyone was out in the sunshine, and I'm there in my bedroom, like discovering the Beatles. In my sort of little world, there was just the five of us. It was just,
Yeah.
it was like,
And you're singing,
like
"Here Comes the Sun."
yeah, do.
Uh,
I was really glad to, be able to sing the rest of the song.
yeah. So in that time in '76, that's also when Wings were really
Yeah,
pumping out the hits.
it
So
was.
I guess you connected with them too, or
I did. I did sort of once, once I'd got all the Beatles albums, and there's not that many of them.
yeah,
It's kind of like, where do you go next? Well,
yeah.
where you go next is you go to the solo albums, and then you start listening to those and buying those up.
So I'm always curious with Beatles fans. What was the first time you heard Revolution 9 on the White Album?
Yeah,
What did you think?
I thought, I just thought it was just the worst thing I'd ever
Yeah.
heard. Like, what is this? This is taking up 8 minutes of this album.
This is hard to dance to.
Yeah, you can't dance to this. You can't hum it.
I remember I was, I guess, 10 years old. I just found it really scary.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So I didn't really think it was bad. It was just it was weird and scary. But since then, it's like, I'm not saying it's the greatest
yeah,
track of theirs, but I enjoy it as part
yeah,
of the White Album.
yeah. I didn't sort of hear it for quite a long time, because if you put the White Album onto a cassette to
Yep.
play in your car or something like that, you have to leave something off because it doesn't fit on a C90. It didn't fit
Yeah.
on a C90, so I used to leave Revolution 9 off my White Album cassette to play in the car. But now I don't skip it now.
Yeah.
But frightening is a really good description of it, actually, because
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point. You're supposed to be scared of this, this revolution sort of thing.
Yeah. And I saw that you rank the Beatles albums on your channel, but maybe you could tell me your least favorite and your favorite Beatles album.
Okay, so my least favorite is Yellow Submarine,
Yeah.
because I don't really consider it to be a proper album. There's only 4 new Beatles songs on it, and the second side is all the George Martin instrumental music,
Yeah.
which isn't Beatles music. So why is it on a Beatles album? So
Yeah.
so that's my least favorite. And my favorite is the White Album. It's just my favorite album by anyone of all time. I first heard it in 1976, and I've just never heard an album. I mean, I like lots of music by other bands, but I've never heard an album that I like as much as the White Album in all this time. So I guess I probably never will, I suppose.
Yeah. It's got so much, so many genres on it, right? I think that's why I'm a fan of such a variety of music. It's because of the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
They've done, pop, heavy rock, psychedelic, experimental,
country,
blues, everything, acoustic. Yeah.
It does. It really does go from the sort of, the sublime, things like While My Guitar Gently Weeps or Blackbird or something like that, to the utterly ridiculous, like Revolution 9 or Wild Honey Pie or something like that, So it just covers so much in those sort of 30 songs.
Yeah. And one thing about Paul McCartney and his solo career that some people I don't know, respect or realize is he's been so experimental in his career.
Yeah.
Doing all kinds of music.
Yeah. I mean, he's always trying something different. He likes to be, I think he likes to be current as well.
Yeah.
So he records with people like Rihanna and Kanye and people like that. But
I think he's fine enough just producing himself. But
yeah. And he does the classical stuff, and he's done a lot of different stuff. Things like Kisses on the Bottom are sort of like the big band type stuff, American Songbook things.
So would he be your favorite solo Beatle?
Right. Okay. So I always find that a little bit tricky because I think I prefer uh John in the Beatles. I think
Yeah.
Lennon wrote my favorite Beatles songs,
Yeah.
or most
Yep.
most of my favorite
I
Beatles
agree
songs.
with that. Yeah.
But you know, we're stuck with
Yeah.
5 or 6 John Lennon albums,
Right. Yeah.
uh, through no fault of his own. But we've
Yeah.
got so much more to explore with Paul.
Yeah.
Um, has Paul made a better album than Plastic Ono Band? I'm not sure. But I think overall, just because his career has gone on so long, he's made more
Yeah.
good albums than John did as a
Yeah.
solo artist. I think John made 3 outstanding albums: Plastic Ono Band, Image, and Walls and Bridges.
Yeah.
And I think Paul has also made 3 outstanding albums in Ram, Band on the Run. Actually, it's 4, I think. I think Venus and Mars is my favorite Wings album. And Flaming Pie, I think, is a fantastic
Mm.
album as well.
Yeah. What do you
So
think of Chaos and Creation? I love that album.
I really love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
really love it. It was a real sort of return to form, I think,
Yeah.
and really good songs. And I think it became such a good album because of Nigel Godrich was the producer,
Yeah.
and he didn't take any shit from Paul, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah.
And he would just tell him, that's not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go and give me something else.
Yeah.
And I think it really benefited from that.
Yeah.
It's a really great album.
Was there, so were you a fan of Paul's all through, since becoming a fan, or did you ever kind of give up on him for a bit? Or
No, no.
I
No,
did.
I've stayed loyal.
Yeah.
I've stayed loyal, and
Yeah. I did.
yeah, I know that you took a break.
Yeah, from
I remember
1983
hearing you say,
to 2007, when Memory Almost Full came out. Not that I didn't like
yeah,
him. It's just I wasn't buying his albums. But when Memory Almost Full came out, and the video for Dance Tonight, it was so catchy. A
yeah,
simple song, but it got me to buy the album. And it's like, oh my God, this is great. And I, started buying his albums again, and
yeah,
I went back, and like Flaming Pie, and
yeah.
yeah.
So you heard Chaos retrospectively. You went back for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
love that, and Pipes of Peace is one of my least favorites still.
yeah. Mine too.
I
Yeah.
have all his albums, but yeah.
Mm. Yeah, Pipes of Peace and McCartney too are fairly a low down my
Yeah,
list, very low.
yeah, and the other one was Red Rose Speedway, which I think growing up, my brother had the album, and you'd read these reviews, the critics putting it down and all that. So I used to think, oh, it's not a very good album. And then when the archive collection came out, I bought I think the 2-disc or 3-disc,
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my God, this is so good. I ended
mm.
up buying the box set.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
yeah,
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 yeah. It's a good set, the box set for that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, some are better. Like you rank all the box sets, which I
I,
have.
I I haven't I haven't actually ranked them. I did a video back in August where I just decided to
The content, I think. Yeah.
yeah well originally I did a video to compare the prices that
Right. Right.
these box sets were when they
Yeah.
came out and what the prices were today, or when I did the video, which was in August, and I just found that they went up. A lot of them have gone up horrendously.
Yeah.
The secondary market for these it's just out of control.
What is
Basically,
is McCartney the most expensive? No.
it
Yeah.
wasn't the most expensive, but it had gone up because it was one of the earlier
Yeah.
ones. It was one of the cheapest ones to buy
Yeah.
originally, but the price now was 300 and something
Yeah.
pounds. I mean, it got. What I did was I ranked how they'd gone up in percentage terms from when they first came out to when they.
I'm selling my McCartney box set for
Yeah.
$300.
Well, the one that I've just done is McCartney 2, and when I did this video back in August, I was finding the average price for McCartney 2 was about 310 quid,
Right.
But when I looked when I made this video, I looked on the day I was making the video to see what people were asking for it on eBay today. And there it's gone up to like about 420 was the cheapest I could find for a brand new one. But yeah, that so those deep dives into the archive box came from that original video where people in the comments were saying, you know, I've been collecting them, but I'm looking for Red Rose Speedway, or I'm looking for Venus and Mars, etc., etc. So I just thought I would do these deep dive videos into each of the sets, just to show people everything that you get for your money, so they can make a decision if they want to pay this inflated price. You know, is it worth it to them? Because this is what you're going to get in it. You know, when we bought them brand new, we didn't really know what was gonna be in it. You know, but people have now got that advantage that they can find out what's in it.
Has the price of RAM gone up much? Or
It did go up. It wasn't one of the highest ones. I can't remember where it came in the ranking, because I haven't done a deep dive of it yet, but it had gone up. The only two that had gone down in price, and they'd only gone down slightly, were Flowers in the Dirt and Flaming Pie, which were the sort of the most recent ones.
And Wings Over America, that must be pretty pricey.
Yeah, it is. It is pricey. You can look to pay over. Sorry to keep quoting in sterling, but I'm not sure what the price would be in Canadian dollars. But it's yeah, for Wings Over America, you're looking at over 500 quid.
So what about George's solo career and Ringo's?
Yeah, so well, yeah, I'm I've been.
Don't laugh when you talk about Ringo.
I'll come to Ringo in a minute. So yeah, obviously George, I've followed all the way through, and when I first discovered the Beatles, I had to go back. Dark Horse was the first George solo album that I bought, and the first one that sort of came out live after I was a fan was 33 1/3. So that was the first one where I actually went out and bought a brand new George Harrison album. Just come. Yeah, it's a really good one. And so obviously I've got all of those. With Ringo, it's funny actually. I did a show with the Two Legs guys the other night. And the show was that we all had to bring questions to the table for the rest of the panel. And one of the questions that I brought was, like, did everyone think that buying Ringo's albums was a loyalty purchase rather than, what I was kind of saying was, if Ringo hadn't been the drummer in the Beatles and he'd been, say, the drummer in the Hollies, but he was producing the albums that he's producing, would you be buying, all his records? And I think that that we all came to the conclusion that we were buying Ringo records because he was the drummer in the Beatles, and we're all Beatles fans. So, but there are with Ringo stuff, if you get 2 or 3 good songs on it, then I always find myself putting a caveat on it, because you say, this is a good song for Ringo, So
it's I don't buy his early solo album, like Ringo and Sentimental, and the one after that,
Book of Blues.
No, the one after Ringo.
Oh, one after Ringo, Good Night Vienna.
Yeah, that one. That was about it for me. But I mean, I'm not knocking Ringo. Some people, like, if you like Ringo's albums and you're buying them, good for you. It's just I'm not that like, I'm into Yes and everything. It's like I just find it too, I don't know, boring or whatever. Like, just
Very
not interested
samey.
enough. But it's not that I don't love Ringo, and
No,
he's one of the greatest drummers. Like, you know?
Yeah, I did sort of hesitate over buying the EPs that he's just
Yeah,
brought out because they were really expensive for 4 tracks. They were, they were the price of albums,
yeah,
and um, but yeah, I mean, I think that I can't think of another drummer who has made so many solo albums. I don't think there is enough. I mean, obviously, he's not the most successful drummer making solo albums. I guess that's Phil Collins, but
yeah,
Phil Collins hasn't made as many albums as as a solo artist
yeah,
as Ringo has.
yeah.
But he's made an incredible amount of albums.
Mhm. Yeah. Now for a big question about Paul McCartney.
Okay,
What do you think of his album, Driving Rain?
I really like it.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, yeah,
I really like it. I think it's
yeah,
underrated. I
yeah,
think it's underrated, and it's clearly not his best work.
yeah,
But I think there are great moments on it. I really love the song "Rinse the Raindrops." It's a great track.
yeah.
There are good songs on that, and I think
Tiny
that
Bubble is so like a song like Tiny Bubble, it's like
yeah,
that
I love that.
all at his best,
She's given up talking. I really love that. There are good songs on that album if people would give it a chance. I
Yeah.
think.
I think the main problem, at least for me with the album, it's too long.
Yeah, it's long. It is
Yeah,
long. It's a if you've got it on LP, it's a double album,
yeah,
and it is quite long. But it took me a long time to get into it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
played it a few times when I first got it. I thought I don't like this, and then
yeah,
I came back to it like a few years later, and I'm thinking actually I do like it, and
yeah,
it would still be if I was doing a ranking of his albums, which I haven't done yet on my channel, but I will do that event at some point. But
mhm,
it would be somewhere near the bottom.
yep,
But that's not so much a reflection on that. It's just a reflection on how much I like the other albums. But I think I would if I was picking them off a shelf. I think I'd probably pick Driving Like Rain before I got to McCartney 2 or Pipes
mm,
of Peace or any of the cover albums that he's done, like the Russian album Kisses on the Bottom, Run Devil Run, or something like Broad Street. I'd pick, they would be lower down in my list
yeah,
than
yeah,
Driving Rain, I think.
yeah. And his last 3, New, Egypt Station, and McCartney 3, what are your thoughts on them?
Um, so I think they're all really good albums.
Yeah,
McCartney 3, again, it took about a year for that to drop for me. I didn't really like it when I first got it. But I tried over and over again, and I really got into it, and I really like it
you
now.
forced yourself to like it.
I did. I kind of thought I did. It's like it's like learning to like olives.
Yeah. I seriously think the albums I love the most, I either didn't like them at first or I just thought they were okay. But like Sparks' Kimono My House, the first when I bought it, I threw it in the garbage.
Did you?
Yeah. But you know, I think the albums I love the most, I didn't care for but I would go back. So never give up on an album. Yeah, at least on the first listen. I mean, after 5 or 6 listens and you still don't like it, maybe okay,
Yeah.
forget it. But
Yeah, yeah. So I think out of the 3 McCartney albums, 1, 2, and 3. I think I'd probably rank 3 the highest now. Out of the
mm,
3 because it hasn't really got much throwaway material on it.
yeah,
I mean, his voice is not as good as it
yeah,
is on McCartney 2 would definitely be my least favorite, but between McCartney 1 and 3, I think that 3 probably just about edges it. Um, Especially as I think it's also got the edge because it's recorded better.
yeah,
He's recording it on today's equipment, much
yeah,
better equipment, and so it's got a much bigger sound. And I like how it sounds sonically.
yeah,
You know, it hasn't got anything on it that's as good as Maybe I'm Amazed, but it's got a lot of, you know, really good tracks.
Yeah.
And obviously his voice isn't as good. Egypt Station, I really like that as an
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
I think that was a great album. I don't think he's made a bad album. You know, for a while now. I think that Chaos and Creation was a real turning point for him. I think that every album, you know, after that has had plenty on it to enjoy.
Yeah.
I think I marginally prefer Egypt Station to New, but New is good. I mean, again, Egypt Station is really a double album. It's, you know, it's a long album, whereas New is short and sharp and to the point, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, both have got really good songs on them. I think.
So you said you've seen Paul in concert about 20 times?
20,
So
yeah.
what was the first time?
First time I saw him was on the Back to the Egg 1979 UK tour. I saw him on, I think, 3 dates of the main tour, and I also went to the concert for Kampuchea, which was also in December 1979. And then I didn't see him. Well, he didn't tour. I saw him. I went to Live Aid, so I saw him at Live Aid.
Wow.
I was lucky enough to be at Live Aid, where his microphone didn't work for the first half of his song, and all the audience sang it for him, and then he didn't know that his mic wasn't working. So when his mic came back and everyone cheered, he wondered what the hell everyone was cheering about. But yes, I saw him at Live Aid, and then the next time I saw him was on the Flowers in the Dirt tour, the New World Tour, the World Tour in 1990. And then I think I've been to, you know, every tour since. I've seen him in Paris, I've seen him in Sweden, and I've seen him in Verona in Italy as well.
Oh, wow. So how was Queen at Live Aid?
Queen were amazing.
So how close were you? Like, were you far back?
Okay, so are you aware of sort of British football, English football, like where the markings on the pitch?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we would be sort of roughly about the towards the stage, but kind of on the centre circle around that. So we were quite a way back, but you know, we were pretty much in line actually with the Royal Box, where the Royal Box is.
Yeah.
I mean, Queen were just astonishing.
So for you, were they the best?
Yeah, they were. I mean, there was so much great stuff that day. I really enjoyed
David Bowie.
Bowie's set was fantastic. The Style Council played as well at Live Aid, and so there were so many great bands on, but Queen just, Queen had really, they really resurrected themselves with that 20 minutes before because they were really floundering. They'd had their sort of peak, sort of the mid to late 70s, and their albums weren't doing that well. They weren't making good albums, and that appearance at Live Aid just absolutely brought them back into the consciousness of the pop fan, I suppose. And and they just absolutely nailed it.
Did you see the movie?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Did you like it?
I did like it. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather just see a real documentary on it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm not a big fan of these sort of biopics, to be honest, but I did quite enjoy Bohemian Rhapsody.
And have you seen David Bowie's new documentary yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, Moon Age Daydream. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, loved it. I loved it because they chose. There was a lot of stuff in it that I hadn't seen before, like interview wise. But the soundtrack, they chose different versions.
Yeah,
they didn't always use the known version of a song, so they might play a live version or a demo or something like that. For Suffragette City or Diamond Dogs or something like that. I loved it.
Yeah, cool.
There was 3 of us in the cinema when we watched it.
Wow.
and one and the it was me and my wife, and the other bloke walked out after about a quarter of an hour. I don't know what I don't know why. I don't know what had offended him that much to
like
walk out.
if you I don't know, like why would if you were a David Bowie fan, why would you walk out? Like
I don't know.
it couldn't be
I
that
don't,
bad
and
unless you wasn't a David Bowie fan.
yeah, and if you weren't a David Bowie fan, why would
Yeah,
you even go?
yeah,
Probably.
yeah. So yeah, that's probably going to be as good of a documentary as the Sparks Brothers.
I will watch it. I will watch
Yeah,
it.
I think it's on. It must be on Netflix in the UK.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
it's definitely available.
yeah,
I just haven't got around to it. There just
yeah.
seems
I
to be.
saw Sparks last April in Toronto,
Oh, yeah, how
and
was it?
Russell can still hit those high notes, and
Yeah,
they played for
fantastic.
2 hours, and
That's really good.
yeah. And my girlfriend, like, she was just, she was okay with them, but after seeing them, right, it's like, oh, now I know why you love them so much, and
Yeah,
she
I
loves them now too.
I never saw them live. Now, when they came to the UK,
Yeah,
when they toured Kimono My House,
yeah,
the UK, and a few of my friends from school went to see them, but I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to go. My parents wouldn't let me go
yeah,
to a gig at that age, and
yeah.
they went, and they were really disappointed because they only played for 45 minutes.
Oh yeah,
I remember it
wow,
really clearly. They were really disappointed
wow.
with Sparks, and sort of telling me because they knew I was a fan. But obviously
Hey, the
they
Beatles used
built
to
up their
play for
set
20
now.
minutes, right?
So
The
was
Beatles
that?
used to play for like 20
Yeah,
minutes.
well, they did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. And then there's Bruce Springsteen with 4-hour shows. So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
amazing.
so besides the artists we've talked about, what other bands and solo artists do you like?
And whenever someone says what do you like, your mind goes completely blank, doesn't it? The Who, I'm
Yeah,
quite a big fan of the Who. The Stones, Small Faces, Kinks. What other bands do I like? Fleetwood Mac,
mm,
uh, Sex Pistols.
mm-hmm.
Big fan of the Pistols.
Yep.
Lots of those sort of 70s new wave bands. The Clash, big fan of the
I love the
Clash.
Clash. Yeah.
Bob Dylan, um, Joni Mitchell, I really like. So I've got quite a wide
Do you
eclectic
like
taste of
prog
music.
rock at all?
I don't. I don't. I just find it. I find it a little bit sort of over bloated. Song. The 70s sort of prog rock. Of course, because all my friends at school, they were all into prog. They're all into
Yeah,
Yes and ELP and Genesis, and there was me, like, just discovering the Beatles at that time.
yeah,
A band that no longer existed, and they're all into the stuff that's current. I do like Peter Gabriel.
hmm
I guess his solo stuff is probably not really prog.
no,
I
no,
wouldn't say
yeah,
it's more sort of pop
yeah,
rock. I've got a lot of Peter Gabriel albums,
yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of prog, which is a bit of a shame because that was the sort of the current thing when I was growing up, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
And
know.
oh yeah, the other thing is you in one of your videos you mentioned I think going to a Yoko Ono concert.
Yeah,
So you like some of her music just like I do. And
yeah, I
do you
do.
have anything to say about her music or
Yeah, well, I saw a place called Wembley Conference Centre in 1986, and that was her Star Piece tour
Mhm.
that she did, and I did get to meet her
Yeah.
after the show, but I couldn't get anyone to come with me, so it was the first time I'd ever been to
That's
a
a real
gig.
shocker.
Yeah. I wonder why that was, but
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't get anyone to go with me. So it was the first time I'd ever been. I think. Oh no, I know. I have seen Paul McCartney on my own once as well. That was the first time that I'd ever been to a gig on my own, and yeah, I do like her stuff. I don't like her screamy avant-garde
Hmm.
stuff, but when she you know, when she plays, does proper songs, proper pop songs or rock
Yeah.
songs. I
Yeah.
dig that.
Yeah.
And also, they sound really good. The musicians that she has on her records
Yes.
are like crack musicians. You know,
Yeah.
they're really top musicians,
Yeah.
and the albums sound great. And people say, "Oh, she's singing out of tune." She's not. She's
No.
not singing out of tune. A
No.
producer would not put out a song that was out of tune.
Yeah.
When she's singing proper, there's a difference between being out of tune and a voice that doesn't appeal to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
I think if somebody didn't know it was her, and
yeah,
here's this Japanese singer and this song,
yeah,
they might say, "Oh, that's nice," right? They're not gonna,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I think so. And some people have got a voice where you can sing absolutely perfectly in tune and on key, but
I find that
it,
boring anyway.
it's not. You might not like that sound, the sound of that voice. But
Yeah.
when she does stuff, when you think about what she was doing in the 70s on those albums,
Yep.
Universe
Yep.
and Feeling the Space,
Yep.
and even on Double Fantasy, and then you know you get to 1977 and sort of punk arrives
Yeah.
in the UK, and you've got people like Susie and the Banshees, and they're basically doing Yoko.
Yep. B-52s, yeah.
Yeah, B-52s as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so I like some of her
Yeah.
stuff, not
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
but there's plenty that I do like. I really like her songs on side one of Double Fantasy. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, I do too.
All of them on side one, all the ones that all sort of like punky new wave
Yep. Yep.
type thing, and it kind of showed that she'd learned more about the sort of the current music scene than John had really
Yeah.
at the time when they recorded Double Fantasy, because she
Yeah.
was she was picking up those influences from punk.
Yeah. So I have a question in my head while we're talking, right? And then by the time it's time to, there's a
By the
gap
time
of
I've shut
silence.
up, you've forgotten
Where's
it.
the question? What happened to it?
Yeah.
So I think, it's almost an hour here.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. That was another. This is only my second time. I did one with the Prague Corner. He loves Prague music.
That's it. You never
But
guess.
this was I hope it was easy enough and enjoyable for you too.
It was really, really enjoyable. Really nice to meet you. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me on.
And I hope you're going to get, because of me, you're going to get millions of subscribers. Your view count's going to go down.
Yeah. We'll see.
But I'll have links for of course, for your channel. And like I said, meeting Paul McCartney or
Yeah.
whatever you want. And I hope people subscribe to Beakley Tones Beatles channel. Now, the thing is with your channel, that's an excellent channel name, by the way, because, Beatles and all that. But now you can't talk about any other band.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, actually, because there are sort of other bands that I want to talk about, and maybe I'll do a poll and see what subscribers want to if they want me to talk about other music, because to say I have got like a quite eclectic taste and into lots of other bands and lots of albums that aren't anything to do with the Beatles.
Or start a second channel. I have two channels.
Yeah, I know.
But it is, like I said, the name of YouTube channel is important, right?
Yeah.
And yours is pretty good because it's got Beatles in the title.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. And like I said, I hope you get lots of subscribers, and check out Beatley Tones Beatles channel. Beatley Tones.
Beatley Tones Beatles channel.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.